welcome to the Healing Word of the Week podcast with me, Marissa of Marissa Moments, where you might get triggered into seeing your own reflection, but it's to reconnect you to yourself and awaken the divinity within. So prepare for laughs, resonance, and accountability through true stories, channeled messages, prophetic words, and everything in between. So I hope you're ready because guess what? Here we go. All right, y'all. So you ready for this one? Let's talk about reversion. Reversion. I would spell it, but I don't even know if I know how to spell it correctly. Anyway, Google it. But what I have on my heart to share with you is the notion of reversion, because we've been progressing so well, haven't we? I mean, pat on the back to you, pat on the back to me, pat on the back to we, right? But what happens, what I find and what God has put on my heart to share with you is oftentimes we go so far and we heal and we do all the work and all the things, but then there's just something that tries to pull us back, right? I mean, this could be talking about a tether. This could be talking about a relationship, a friendship, any of the ships, right? We've already established that. Or a habit, right? And sometimes old habits die hard. I'm sure you've heard of that. But here's the thing, right? You've been doing all the work and yet sometimes something will just sneak up on you. And it's not even obvious, right? It's like something where you start to do it and then you realize like, crap, I'm starting to do that again, whatever that thing is, right? Like for me, for instance, I've been doom scrolling lately. Like, I mean, I just am mindless and I just go on the gram or on the book or on whatever it is, the tickety tock, and I just scroll and I scroll, right? And then before you know it, listen, today I was sitting here in my room and you want to know something? It went from sun up to sundown. Now, okay, that sounds a little dramatic. It was about 30 minutes time, but I literally lost track of time in that moment. Now, why am I sharing that true story that's kind of embarrassing? I'm telling you because one, you know, I'm always going to tell you the truth. And two, because that's the space that we're in. We go leaps and bounds from where we've been, but it's so easy to fall back into old habits or to do old patterns, right? Another example is turning back. Now, I did a video about Lot's wife, right? Go watch it on the tickety talk. Doesn't matter. But here's the thing that I found that sometimes happens. So I have had these patterns of reaching out to people who don't even reach out to me, right? And I do it because I have this fear of abandonment. Well, at least I had, and it's still kind of there, but I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress, just like everyone else. And so what I would do is anytime someone crossed my heart, then I would instantly reach out to them. I would send them a text and let them know, hey, you just crossed my heart. So I feel like that means I'm supposed to reach out to you. I'm supposed to check on you, right? But what I didn't realize was in the interim, I was putting myself last, right? And then I was creating a scenario in which I would feel like I was the last man standing. I was the odd man out. How many other ways can we say the same thing, right? And create a scene and scenario in which I would end up feeling resentful because, hey, why is nobody else checking up on me, right? And I did it consistently enough to create a pattern, right? Now, here's the thing. I've realized as I've given myself time to heal that I don't have to do that anymore because the pattern behind that was me trying to hang on to someone or someone's because I feared the abandonment more than I feared the resentment that I would create for myself by reaching out to someone who never reaches out to me, right? And so we're talking about reversion though, right? So how does it relate today, right? I'm getting to it. I promise I'm going to make it make sense. But the thing of it is lately, as I've been moving forward full steam ahead with God by my side, well, actually leading me on my side, behind me, all surrounding me, right? I've been an open vessel for him to use as he deems fit. Well, you want to know what happens is the enemy will sneak in and try to say, hey, you haven't reached out to so-and-so lately. Don't you care? What if they forget about you? Don't you feel like, maybe you're becoming a sellout by not reaching out to them? And so I had to pause and pray, right? I had to pause and pray so that way I could use my discernment to figure out, is this God telling me that I need to reach out to this person to make sure that they're okay? Or is this the enemy trying to use my old toxic and traumatic patterns to pull me back to a place and space that I've long outgrown? Put me in a space of reversion, right? And what I realized is that's exactly what it was. Because here's the thing, right? God will tell us to move ahead. God will tell us to remain focused, right? And God will tell us which way, which direction to turn if we are calm enough, quiet enough to get out of our own way and out of our own heads and allow Him to guide us, right? But it's very easy to mistake God's patterns and directions and all of those things with the enemy's directions. Because, listen, especially when you're still in the process of healing, it can be very difficult. And especially if you don't take a moment to use your discernment. If you have these knee-jerk responses that you always say yes to everything that comes across your plate, right? Now, I say that to say this. I stopped reaching out. Now, again, I mentioned all of this in my Tickety Talk video, and I apologize if you hear some noise in the background. I am putting some lotion on because nobody likes ashy skin. But anyway, let's stay focused. The thing of it is, I realized I did not need to do that because what I recognized and what God put on my heart to share with you is that the people that are in our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And if they are meant to be there for a lifetime, one text is not going to make or break that relationship if it is built on trust, faith, understanding, and grace, right? So I say again, all of that to say this. Make sure you're pausing to check for the reversions. Make sure you are taking time to sit with God through meditation, prayer, or the like in order to figure out and discern what is from Him and what is not from Him. Maybe it's not even the enemy. Maybe it's just you, right? and listen, if it's just you, it's just as bad as the enemy sometimes because we get in our own way so many times because we create these patterns, and not even necessarily these toxic patterns, but just these habits and patterns that keep us complacent. Right? Now, not to say that's always wrong because comfort isn't a curse word, right? It's not a damnation or anything like that. It just depends on what you aspire towards. If you are in a place and space where you are comfortable and you want to keep everything exactly where you are, then God bless. Thank you for coming out. God bless. Good night, right? However, if you feel drawn to something else, if you feel that power of ascension calling you, then that's why these messages are key components to your journey, right? And always take it as it resonates for you because my stories, my examples may fit exactly with what you experience, or they might just be an illustration of something of the like. But God speaks through us all if we are willing to listen, right? The messages that I share are based off of true life stories, but also channeled intuitive messages that I receive from God, Gaia, ancestors, angels, and saints. And if you get hung up on the notion of God, Gaia, ancestors, angels, and saints, then maybe these messages aren't for you, right? But I'm speaking to the people that these messages speak to. I'm not looking to alienate or ostracize or any of the sort, but I am here to help remind you of the things you already know. Like I always say, I'm not here to preach, I'm not here to teach, but I'm here to remind, because what I receive as well is that God is within all of us, right? He dwells within all of us, but sometimes we just stray so much that we forget. Or we feel like we can't even relate to any of the notions that are put out there through different religious organizations or affiliations and all these things, or spiritual realms and all those things, right? As I always say, sometimes religion and even spirituality prices itself outside of the common man's budget. So I'm here to bring it back down to earth on in a tangible way that you can not only know, but apply to your life when it comes to the overall ascension of the planet. Now, I know that sounds like a lofty goal and notion and things like that, but guess what? It begins with you, the individual. And sometimes people will have you think, oh, that's a selfish way to kind of apply things. We should be out here saving souls. We should be bringing everybody to God and all those things. But guess what? What I receive is that once you start working on yourself, once you start working on that healing, then not only are you healing yourself, but you're healing generations to come, because we are the ancestors of tomorrow. And what happens is within these family units, whatever we are working on or whatever way that we are living our lives is what we're going to pass down. So if we work to solidify our toxic patterns or generational curses or the like, then that's exactly what we're putting out into the world, because we're passing it down to future generations. However, if we decide to take a stand here and now and work on ourselves as individuals, then we're not only preaching to the choir, and we're not only talking the talk, but we're actually walking the walk. And anyone who looks at us will not only see the light of God and the power of potential transformation, and that plants a seed in and of itself. So that way they're going to become curious and they're going to want to maybe, I don't know, find God within themselves, right? But by changing the trajectory of your family line, you are changing the world. Your children, your children's children, or even if you don't have kids, the people who see you in this world. So never negate the things that you are working on in your healing journey, because it is crucial. We always talk about the fact that how the world is never going to change, and maybe that's the case, but your world can change, right? Did you catch that? Because God just put that on my heart and it was heavy. Maybe the world won't change, but guess what? Maybe your world will change. And by changing your world, you change the world of so many others, right? Because it all starts with the individual. It starts with the one drop notion. But if we continue to allow ourselves to be lured in by the reversions, by the tethers, by the whispers, or actually the screams of the enemy, because here's the other thing, right? God often whispers, right? Because he's not going to raise his voice at you or anything like that unless you have your God smacks, right? And in that case, he going to give you a hard lesson, and you going to learn it, or you're going to have to repeat it. And that's not good. But for the most part, what I've found is that God whispers. He's very consistent with it, but he whispers and he's always there. But you want to know who yells? The enemy. So sometimes we confuse it because we can hear the enemy so well. Just look at popular television and music and all these different industries and Hollywood and all these different places and spaces and people that tell you that basically, to shout out to Vampire in Brooklyn, evil is good, right? They put that notion in our hearts and they kind of just reinforce it over and over again until it just becomes innate, right? We're indoctrinated with darkness. And so it becomes secondhand nature. It's muscle memory and all the things that mean the same thing, right? However, we also have to stop and recognize that, again, God is within us all. That light is a potential possibilities. However, yes, it does take a little bit more work. So we have to be aware. We have to be diligent. Now, does that mean that we can never let our guard down or anything like that? Yes, actually, it does mean that. What did you think I was going to say? Because when we do let our guard down, then we end up doom scrolling for a half hour, watching, not even noticing that the sun is setting outside of the window, right? But I'm not going to keep going on and on, because here's the thing, what I've received on my heart lately as well, is that I can't always deliver the happy sunshine messages, right? I can't always say that things are going to be flowers and daffodils, or you're going to win an inheritance or the lottery or whatever it is, right? Because these are the things that we really want to hear, right? Nobody wants to hear about having to struggle in order to learn hard lessons, right? But it is crucial to know, because if I feed you fictitious prophecies, then I'm no better than the enemy in and of himself. right? And I choose not to walk that path because I know that there is a paradise waiting for me and I choose to go that way. But I'm getting off the subject, off the main subject at hand, reversion. Bottom line to this bottom line is remain mindful. Take time for yourself. Continue to heal. Understand that, yes, the past will continue to call you, just like an old toxic boyfriend who's had a drink or two and talking about, hey, big head in a text. Now, are you going to respond to that text? Are you going to feed into it? Are you going to eat that old nasty meal that you know made your stomach hurt every single time you ate it before? Are you going to be that lactose intolerant person who still eats bricks of cheese just because it tastes good? Right? We're talking about reversion. We're talking about tethered to toxic patterns, right? That no longer serve us. God will allow these opportunities to keep presenting themselves until we learn, not only learn, but integrate our newness, our ascension, and not only shift the habit, but shift as an individual. Because listen, God is trying to do some work on me, on you, on we. On we. That sounds like a name. Anyway, let's stay focused. Let's not revert. Let's cut the tether, cut the cords. However, before we get too snarky and snappy, let's make sure we take a moment to pause, meditate, pray, all the things, so that way our healed discernment can take the foreground and God can truly lead us in the direction that He wants us to go, not even that we want to go. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for listening. I pray that you're having a great positive journey and that the struggles that you face or will face are proof positive that you are capable of surviving and thriving, that you're able to find purpose through all of the pain, and that you're able to discern what is for you and what is not for you, and that you walk your walk with serenity and confidence and love and grace and all the things. Again, thank you so much for walking with me. I love sharing these notions that God puts on my heart. The only thing better than walking a healing journey in and of itself is to walk it with a friend. So thank you so much, friends, for walking with me. And that's it for now. Make sure you check out all of the previous messages. I have tons of archives, and also find me all over social media. But remember, when you look me up, it is Marissa Moments, and that's Marissa with one S, because as I always like to say, there is only one me. So until next time, peace, blessings, apples and tomatoes, all the things, and happy healing.